Gentlemen, I want us to turn to something else quickly. We're turning to a different discussion altogether. This time, we're bringing it closer to home. There's so much of politicking going on in Edo State right now. The APC is always in the discussion as far as issues and analysis are concerned. But the recent one, perhaps we should say the most recent one that we want to be looking at is the probe by Edo State government of the Central Hospital here in Benin City. We remember when that hospital was just built, some persons had expressed excitement, believing that the conversation had changed for the better as far as access to quality healthcare was concerned. But for a number of years, that facility was not open for use. At the point, it became a talking point, really, between the APC, which is the ruling party, and the opposition, the PDP. As of today, we know authoritatively that the government is keen on probing circumstances surrounding that facility. Some are saying, well, what have we been doing the last 3-4 years? Why didn't we take this step the whole time? That even at that time you had people, civil society groups protesting that they needed to know exactly the reason this facility, as critical as it is, hadn't been opened. Incidentally, too, some of the persons in Governor Obaseki's government today were also in the government of former Governor Adams Oshomole, now, by the way, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, the APC. It makes the conversation a bit dicey. It makes you want to ask a question as to, beyond timeliness, is this some political gimmick going on? Or is it really the fact that the government is bent on ensuring that Edo State people put their money where their mouth is? Because ultimately, what we're talking about here is the tax payers' money. Again, I would like to start with Felix. Health is wealth, they say. So for a hospital like that, you just cannot play the ostrich and not talk about how that hospital has been built for a long time. Access, I wouldn't want to say denied, but wasn't there. But today we understand that the government wants to get to the root of how that project was even conceived in the first instance. In fact, there's a committee set up for it with very erudite personalities in that committee. It shows that it's a priority for government at this point in time. But is it misplaced?
Well, let me not talk from both sides of my mouth.
Let's use one for a start.
Let me use one side. And clearly, what is the point? If you investigate now and you indict anybody, would that open the hospital for public use by tomorrow? You see, politics have started again. This is political. I don't want to be seen as if I'm playing to the gallery, but I don't think that is the problem of today. The present governor was a major player in the last administration that brought him in. So his predecessor and he, who is a successor today, they were part of that plan. So if the governor is telling us today that they want to check how it was conceived and executed, and those who didn't do things properly, and what the state would have suffered, is the governor probably himself? Somewhere along the line, I see this as what we call covering the field. You want to throw out your dragnet and see what you can drag in. There are some persons that are being targeted. If not, what is the essence of the probe? Get the hospital functioning. That is what is critical. You see, at a point, I said it here some time ago, that the government does not need to publish its achievements. That the man on the street knows when the government is working well or when it's not working well. If there's a good road for him to get to wherever he's going, he turns on his tap and water is running, he switches on light and he has power supply, he's sleeping with his 2 eyes closed, he knows that the government is working. And he can get, if not 3 square meters, at least 2 good meals.
But the politicians win elections like that.
That is why we are discussing this today. Because our politics is about bread and butter, stomach infrastructure, then power and grandstanding. I don't see the sense in what the governor is trying to achieve right now. He has this plan. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not a member of his cabinet, I'm not a member of his party, but I want to be clear. APC government is investigating former APC government. Does that make sense to any reasonable human being?
But 2 different administrations.
But he was also
2 different
in fact, the national chairman kept saying then that Governor Obaseki was the brain behind his economic success. And part of the success was the conceptualization and construction of that hospital. After all, Central Hospital is right in the heart of BC2. So anybody that has entered Ring Road sees Central Hospital. Now it's a specialist hospital. For whatever it was conceived, the issue of investigation now does not make sense. What people want is make it functional. At times, you may spend too much money to achieve an objective, but let the objective be achieved. If you do cost-benefit analysis in this matter, what has the state expended? What is the value that has returned to the state
on account of that investment?
That is it. That's what we bothered about. If you are taking us back into history again, to go and look back to when you were a major player in administration, maybe there are some people who offended him that he wants to use it to tie their hands. I don't know, because politicians have a very good way of setting traps. But I don't see the value of that inquiry right now.
That's great. But again, let me talk to a party man. This is an APC man, a proud man, that even though he says he tries to be as political as possible when national issues are concerned. You know, this conversation is a bit protracted. I'll tell you why. I spoke with a number of persons yesterday from both sides. By both sides, I mean those who are on the governor's side, as it were, as we know it now, and those on former Governor Adams Oshomole's side as well. One of the persons I spoke with from the side of the former governor told me, he said, look, there are people in Governor Obaseki's government today who were key components of Adams Ali Oshomole's government. For example, he mentioned the current Secretary to State Government, Barrister Saudionge. He said he was Commissioner for Works at the time. He mentioned Frank Ewoma. He said he was Commissioner for Urban Development, something around that region. But the point I was trying to make is, these persons have seen both sides of the coin. So when you're probing now, even though we're privy to the terms of reference of this committee, you're asking yourself, first of all, are we making the right investment with this one? Then ultimately, what is the objective we want to achieve with it? Then, going forward, how does that rub off positively on the average Edo person? Because we're looking at issues of priorities now.
Gentlemen, I like to very radically, from the position of my very distinguished and intellectually quoted co-discussant. We have been talking about failures of government in security architecture in this country.
Right.
And so if somebody comes to me and say, let us probe why our security situation has been this porous, I will not condemn the excursion into probing why we find ourselves in such a porous security situation as all of us have found ourselves. And so any attempt at probity should by no means be condemned, even by very distinguished academicians of my co-discussants study. I would think that you will embrace it, but you can give a caveat to say, in so far it is not witch hunting, then you will be my friend. Then we will be on very straightforward alignment.
So isn't he your friend now?
No, because I needed to give that intervention.
Okay.
Yeah, because nobody should condemn an excursion of probity. No, don't condemn. But say, please, we have seen in this country that most of these probes end up to be vindictive, end up to be this, end up to be that. But yours should not be. Yours should be fine.
Is this one different from that?
This is what I'm saying. The point I'm making is that, you see, there is this unfortunate perception that we get or we bring to our sense of critical reasoning, our sense of reasoning when we are looking at government action. We tend to believe that it is hard to be vindictive, it is hard to malign, political opponents and all that.
But that appears to be a case of once beating forever.
No, it is not always like that. We have seen cases where probe committees reports, turn out to be, a radical departure from the past and leading us to a progressive line. You see, whether you like it or not, Godwin, no matter say Obaseki's administration has shown a form of statesmanship. In all essence of it, and I like to confront anyone on this matter. You see, we talk about the politician thinking of the next election and the statesman thinking of the next generation. And also it is from that dictum that I lift my appreciation and quantification of Governor Obaseki's administration's intervention as that of the next generation, and therefore statesmanly. You see, the point we are making is that the governor has set out to probe why the hospital, found itself in such a parlous situation. The report will be out, and Nigerians like you and I, academicians like you and I, researchers, will go into question how they came up with their report or whatever. So, but the fact that people have just set up a committee and you say, no, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, then we are not helping the situation. Because if you look at the people that constitute that committee, talking of erudite professors there, talking of erudite jurists, these are icons in their own rights and who deserve, at least for nothing, we must give them that fair ground to do what they want to do. But I like to say this, as we speak, the hospital is functioning, is running. So it's not that the hospital is closed, it's running. You can go there now, you'll be attended, it's running properly. But I think that certain acquisitions that were ordered for the hospital, they didn't come on time, and the government believed that, sometimes money must have been doubled or something, and they want these things probed. And if you want this thing probed, it is in you and I's interest that you are talking about accountability just now. It is you and I interest that every kobo of government should be accounted for. So if a government takes an excursion into such probity, I think such governor or government should be encouraged with a caveat. Please make sure it is not a vindictive.
Okay, quickly, we want to take a few contributions from our viewers here on the show. Community policing is a good idea to any state of the federation. I hope other states should follow suit concerning Edo politics. Obaseki should endeavor to equip the general hospital and also reopen a Kiadalo College of Education. Okay, you say you're talking as a Benin man, but I think we should be talking as Nigerians, by the way. You say the president should change the security architecture. Yes, you say you don't throw stones when you are in a glass house. Why? Check the checker. Don't wash your dirty laundry in public. Obaseki was with Toshomale, his government, 100%. So he should set a probe for himself before others. That's Owagbon Sydney from Lagos. Then we just take a few more now. You say, I agree with Comrade Edopolo. Why would the government redeploy Commander Obomudia, who was making progress against insurgency in the government, if the government is really sincere to combat insurgency? Then a gentleman here by the name of James, you're saying, I strongly agree with Mr. Felix's analysis on insecurity in the country, but our leaders are showing less concern about it because some of them are making it a political affair. Fighting crime without addressing the economic situation, I'm sure you want to say, of the country will always be counterproductive. I advise the government to concentrate on the economy rather than concentrating on the security. This is Frederick from Ugbo. But that's a problem because people have to be alive to carry out economic activity.
The environment has to be secured for the industry to come.
Exactly. So I think that's a point.
I agree with him. They go side by side.
Yes,
they go side by
side. So government must pay attention to both of them. But let me bring Felix into this conversation again as your contributions continue to pour in using our SMS channel this morning on the program. You see, government actions are always questioned in this country, apparently because there is a history of government not having sincerity of purpose when they pull off some of these actions. And these actions are critical. But then people are wondering, why does it have to come just a few months away from elections? It has to come at some point, whether it's before or after elections. Yes, we understand that there's, as it were, a gulf in the APC in those states. But then again, the government is convinced that what he's doing, the governor in particular is convinced that what his government is doing is a step in the right direction, especially as he believes that it serves the overall interest of Edo people. But going forward, some persons have also questioned the fact that this can only be because there's a fallout between the incumbent governor, Godwin Nogagase Obaseki, and immediate past governor, Adam Saliu Oshomole. So how do we reconcile all of these conflicting points that we're having?
Okay, basically, I will not fault the governor's action directly. My point, maybe my cousin didn't get this play. I will elaborate it quickly. I have observed over time that Governor Obaseki works like a technocrat. I support that point. In fact, I've had the opportunity to discuss the things he has done so far, and I totally put that the man is thinking in a futuristic term.
Okay.
He's not thinking it as a political move. Sometimes you have to, in most cases, you plant and water before you can
harvest.
Nurture, then later you harvest and you can store. So if he's using that strategy, it will work. And there's no issue of talking of empowerment of the boys. Allow them to do whatever they like on the road. No, that one has died out naturally.
Okay.
Now, I will disagree where you are probing something you were involved in, and there's already a writ on ground. I live in Benin City here. I'm from Edo State, so I understand to an extent that to look more. That's why I said what called covering the field, that maybe there are some people they want to drag in. The probe itself is good, but you are setting up a probe, you are in charge of the probe. Who is going to watch the watchman?
But there's a committee.
That is the point. You see, a committee is always set up and give terms of reference, but you can't tell the guide. Let's not discuss that one into a political matter.
Okay.
But let us push the argument to what we stand to gain.
Okay.
That's the point I also made. I said, look, push it to cost-benefit analysis.
Okay.
You have spent so much on this project. What can we get? I'm very, very pragmatic. I don't want to dissipate energy on what I would like to get proper response from. So if I have to advise the governor on this matter, I'll tell him point blank, your political tangle with your predecessor is there, but focus more on your legacy. The legacy he has created, it's already there. You cannot take it from him. He is not the way can see governor, whether you like it or not.
Even though that may not be in his CV.
It's not written there. I keep saying that people know when government is working. You can drive through TED. Of course, they are trying to constitute nuisance again at TED Junction now, but it is clear. You can go through Ring Road, you can go to Lagos. I had a visitor from Bayelsa State some days ago, and I told the visitor, I said, look, this Ring Road, some years ago, you can't walk freely here. You can be taken away. Your bag, your phone, anything could happen to you. But now, I walk through Ring Road at night. I don't have that fear. I don't keep watching my back. And this happened in this administration.
Right.
So that's something. You see, there are some pluses we cannot take away. You don't. A man is not perfect, yet where he has done right, you must commend him. The governor has been doing well on a lot of issues, and the kind of thought he has brought into governance today is changing the concept of governance in Edo State, whether we like it or not. You hear of teachers in school talking of Edo Best, talking of how to use technology to leverage on education. You are hearing that work is going on in technical school. I don't work for Edo State government, but I live here, I pay my tax here, so I can also tell people that I can see the money being used. So if that is what he has achieved, I commend him on that. If the hospital, I said the hospital should be functioning to serve the interest of the people. That's my immediate concern. If the committee is there, let the committee also do it. But I am not comfortable with the fact that you were a part of this. You can still do that. But the committee's terms of reference, I still likely took the words from my mouth. If it's not to witch hunt, no problem, go ahead. Okay. But I want the governor to focus on positive, because if the issue of the rift will not even be solved by one committee. So it's a political matter. You want to add to that?
Let me just cut in. You see, there's something we have to understand. I have interacted with both sides of APC divide on very, very intrinsically close wavelengths. On both sides, being distinguished former governor Comrade Adams Oshomole or Godwin Obaseki. Okay, I served Oshomole's administration as SSA twice. I'm currently not a member of Edo State government. I don't work for the state government as I speak to you. I'm a party man. And so I have related with these people on very intrinsic wavelengths. And so I can tell you where the direction or where the issue is. So if, for instance, you want to look at the configuration of our political crisis in APC, there is this proverb that to know how to resolve a problem, you go to where the problem started from. I know where the problem started from. And so what Godwin Obaseki is doing just now regarding the probe of the hospital, I can say to you unequivocally that there is no partisan political coloration whatsoever about it at all. It's about putting the books so that when another government comes, the government understands clearly that this is what happened to Central Hospital. It's not about witch hunting. Okay. So
the records need to be straight.
You see, you are dealing with a governor who is very comfortable with details. Most people are not comfortable with details. They say, just give me the summary. Please give me executive summary. A Godwin Obaseki is take his time to look at the details. He wants to be sure that everything are in place before he puts his red biro. So for me, what he's doing now is critical. It is directed towards, having a proper encapsulation of the legacy projects we are talking about. Like as I told you before, the hospital is functioning in full capacity. Okay. But putting the records there as to how the hospital came to where it is today, that excursion has to be made. And the report of that excursion has to be in our files so that other governments that will succeed in will come to see what has
I
happened.
know where we're coming from, right?
Exactly, we should know where we're coming from.
There's an Egiato here. Your contribution says, I want to inform you that Fulani herdsmen have taken over Ugo, Uronigbe, and Igbanke communities in Oriomo local government area. You said the farmers for more than 2 weeks cannot go to their farms. It is now difficult for people to feed. He said the government should come to their rescue. I know we carried a report about this just last night. Today, unfortunately, this is from Osage from Federal Road here in Benin City. You say today, unfortunately, we are forgetting again about our youth. You say our leaders tear them, take them into carrying arms, talk about the comforts of the youth by providing job before you can talk about security. Job creation, yes, we understand that can also check a lot of issues as far as security and insecurity are concerned. But going forward, it means that there's so much of work in front of the government as far as all of these issues we're discussing are concerned. We're going to take a quick break now. When we return, my guest here will help us wrap it up on our discussions this morning. Do stay with us.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you for staying with us on the program. We wind down now. Let's just get to punch on certain aspects of the conversation we started just a while back. I would like to begin with Ayamehwe. You have said apparently that this move by the state government under the leadership of Governor Obaseki is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
One that is in the overall interest of the people.
Absolutely.
I spoke with a number of your party men yesterday, frontline party men, by the way, and one of them said he would also expect the governor to do the same thing across board, not just only in the health sector, particularly the general hospital or the central hospital. He talked about even the state university, the university in Iamo, for example, that we also need to get to the root of that. And mentioned a few other issues. Some persons believe until we do that, this will only be seen as political, because government is always it's hardly a continuum in Nigeria. There's always a fracture from one administration to another. This is a huge task in front of Governor Obaseki.
Absolutely, and it's equal to the task.
Okay.
Governor Obaseki is equal to the task. You know, you are seeing a governor who is giving credence to the continuum. That word continuum in government is about the most recent to be giving credence to it by the completion of abandoned Samuel Ogbemudia legacy projects. If you go to those what we used to call, abandoned skyscrapers by Saple Road, you see a governor that has taken deliberate measures to put all of them in full use with a view to pulling out government ministries and agencies that are on rents in private hands, to bring them into government, and believing that such rents money or such money for rents could be channeled for the good of the people. You cannot say such a government does not mean well. And if you look at the story being bundled around the Iamo University, you'll be amazed as to what has happened in this city, what has happened in the state. And so I encourage that Governor Obaseki, conscientiously, sustain the probes, of projects or programs that are great with colorations. Because the people deserve to know.
You said, though university, in your words, great.
I'm not in a position to say it is great. I am saying that Governor Obaseki should sustain the probe, into projects or programs that are great. And so I didn't say specifically that Iamo University is great.
So this should be a sweeping approach.
Of course. So it should, like you are saying that somebody advised that he should not just stop with this, that he should, I'm giving credence to that statement. I'm supporting that opinion. You see, until all of these things are done, so that scholars, like my distinguished academicians, will come to read, to know, why certain things happened, and how those issues were remedied. If we listen with rapt attention just now, to the terms of reference of the committee. It talks about, if there were losses. It didn't say that there were losses. If there were losses, and how could those losses be accounted for? And that the commission should advise government to prevent the reoccurrence of such losses or damages, in conceptualization of government programs, or projects. So for me, it had no altar of vindictiveness or to undermine anybody. Less people are just being unnecessarily afraid. You will not be surprised. The commission chairman that I know, who is very, very erudite and has a name, will just come out to say that they found nothing against anybody. Then what will you and I do? There's nothing anybody can do. Because these people, they already have a reputation to themselves, and they know that they are being invited to handle a very, very critical task at a time that the ruling party is highly troubled.
Okay.
And so they are not going to do anything, that is less than valuable, that is less than critical to moving the state forward. So that for me is very, very germane.
Okay, let me talk to Felix now because we don't have all the time again. The governor is working. That's what many people will tell you. They keep mentioning different things that the governor has done in different sectors, from things that are core economic in nature, and then you have those that are basically infrastructural. All right. He talked about, for example, all of those buildings around Sapler Road behind the Secretariat's buildings being upgraded. Many of them had been completed. Yes, many of them had been abandoned for many years. But this government came into power, came into office, and took. Saw that as a task that must be attended to. Exactly, and you find the governor driving many other initiatives across board. But how do we ensure that coloration, political coloration is not given to these things? Because most times, like he said, the governor hardly even talks about many of these things that he's doing. So you have to go to town to see many of these things.
You are taking the word from my mouth again.
Okay.
Government does not need to publish its achievement.
So people should see for themselves.
It will be seen, it will be known. I pass Sapler Road frequently. I grew up in Benin City, and I grew up to know that those things were skeletal structures. And last time I passed...
But good intention.
No.
Good intention. Good intention.
I met even the one that got burnt, the first one very close to the mega station.
Right.
That one got engulfed in flame at the time, and it has been left like that for a while. But
that's the Palm House.
Yes,
that's the Palm House.
And when I saw the part of the Civil Service Commission building, the Secretariat building...
Judges' quarters.
In fact, that's a marvel. The governor should be commended. You see, these are the truths. If you see such a thing going on, and your tax is leaving your salary, you won't get angry. The road, that High Court road that is behind the structures we are discussing now, the road is passable. Before now, you have to pray that your shaft or your ball joint does not disengage from a vehicle if you are not using a four-wheel drive. If you take Central Road, you have a smooth drive down the road. You take Commercial Avenue, you see, these are the truths. Now, when we were doing our postgraduate program, there was a course we were taught on transportation and development. I did a master's in history, and I really like that aspect of economic history. And I'll tell you one thing, the easiest thing to transform an environment is to have good roads. Because people will be able to move around, goods and services will move on the ground. So the governor is synergizing. You can see roads going on side by side with structures that are being built. He's saving money. The man is a technocrat. You see, the biggest problem we have is that we are thinking of that old political
mentality,
where you come and say this is for the boys.
Yes.
The stomach infrastructure capacity is on the. Meanwhile, when you give us
contracts, that means we don't have boys.
Hold on. Well, that is for you to explain. I don't know what you actually are trying to drive at. But I will tell you point blank, when you award a contract and the contract is executed judiciously, you have also empowered people again.
Yeah.
So you can either waste money or you spend it well. It's an option. And I keep telling people that you spend money better when you invest it profitably. So put up a structure. Look at the High Court complex. We are talking of only Sapler Road. I mentioned just a technical school that is ongoing. I've been to Sapler Road, the former magistrates' courts, where they have the Edo business hub.
Okay. Then the smooth and unbroken payment of pensioners' salaries and arrears.
See, these
unbroken, smoothly.
We don't need to go to outer space to find solution to our problems. They are here. You can make a decision and say, I want this thing done properly. That has been the failure of government over the years. Okay. Everything is politicized. Yeah. You say, no, my interest, my party interest. I said something just like that. I'm not a member of APC. This is APC government, so APC. And I have said, this is legacy. I'm alive, I can say it openly. I'm not going to say because of one thing or the other, I will not speak the truth here. The governor is doing marvelously well. And when you are seeing these things, it is not how many persons have been empowered privately. That is not what we are looking at. We are seeing the public sector, we are seeing schools that are still functioning, we are seeing salaries being paid. And in clear terms, I was not the one that said it, that while they were negotiating minimum wage, the governor of Edo State started paying minimum wage. I am not the one that said that. These are truths. So if the governor is also driving the process of development, he should drive it assiduously. One good thing is that when you are doing the right thing, you will have a lot of haters. Yeah. Those who are not directly benefiting. Yeah. They will malign you, they will say everything. don't listen to the rabble behind you. Focus. Put your hand on the plow. Move ahead, because you don't plow back or you plow forward. So, and you have to keep moving. So the government of the day is doing the maximum. And I keep saying my tax goes to the state government. So I also have the right to demand what my money is being used for.
Right.
And that's why we are doing the probe on the central hospital, so that you will know what your money has been used.
Okay, I concede that to I could discuss that. But I just got the
So, but let me
sorry, briefly. The terms of reference were clearly specified. I didn't have the full terms.
Yes.
I actually saw only the paper signed by the SSG.
SSG, yeah.
So that's where I took my cue from. But
Yeah.
when I came to the studios now, I got the full term. And with often it said, in the future,
Yes.
to avoid
Damages or losses.
Good. It is proper. So if somebody is doing self-probe, it should be commended.
Yeah.
And it should not just stop at this. It should not become a tradition. It should become, if possible, legislate into law that every government that consumes, check the books of the previous government.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once there's that consistent accountability,
Yeah.
the idea of don't worry, we are one, we'll do it, we own this time, it will stop.
Okay, let's
somewhere along the
see
line.
what our viewers are saying now, just as we wrap it up. Good morning from Clement. There is nothing wrong with, you say there's nothing wrong with probing, and I have confidence in those that make up the committee. But my question is, why is it coming after 3 years? So I'm worried on the motive behind the probing. So timeliness again.
No, the time is always a factor. There is nothing people will not question. If he started it and just immediately after he's swearing in, people say, is it not too early? Is it not too early? If he's putting it a day before his exit, they'll say, you don't see her, you don't see her. Now I won't come out. So people must talk. But what is important is putting your eye on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is the interest of Edo people.
Right.
And this, like I talked about the report just now, being an academic materials for distinguished historians, like my co-discussant, to come to see how were these things supplied, at what ratio between dollar to naira. And why did you not come up with a requisition that no, because there was dollar depreciation or appreciation, another vote should be approved another. So this is all what this committee is going to unravel.
Okay.
It's a misery. You don't be surprised. The committee will say, Your Excellency, in our report, nobody has any question to answer. Everything is fine. Shake hands, and the matter moves on.
In the old central hospital building, to get a card was 50 naira. But to get a card in the new building costs 5,000 naira. How do you explain this? This is from James in Benin. Well, I'm sure the management of the facility will find a way to explain that, how they came about that increase. And again, you want to check costs versus quality
and efficiency
that you're getting. So I'm sure that's right in front of management of the hospital to explain. I just want to give my guests 1 minute each to wrap it up. Sorry, man, when you look at the state of politics in those states today, all right, it's a bit heated up.
Yes.
So many persons believe you cannot ultimately, for whatever reason, divorce this probe from the political trajectory as we have it within the APC in those states today. 1 minute.
Well, everything we do in this life is political.
Okay.
So the governor, all the moves he makes, whether good, well-intentioned or otherwise, will be considered from a political angle.
Okay.
So if it is that people are suspicious or they are wary, well, they are entitled to their opinion. But I just said something else on that. I just got the full terms of reference, and I'm comfortable with the full terms, so long as it will serve the interest of the good citizens of Edo State in the long run. So I don't have any problem with that. But the thing should be properly done. And as I suggested, I can put the caveat to say, subsequently, every administration should be properly audited. After all, we audit government books, we audit businesses. Most times in Nigeria is that you audit, you don't get the full report, or nothing ever comes out. We have white paper, we have commissions. They should be properly
and the color of the paper never changes.
Well, sometimes it could be brown, but they should be properly constituted. And it should be a guiding point, a reference point, so that you can say, oh, at this point in time, this is what we did, this is what came out from it. And as I said, we should always use cost-benefit analysis. Most time projects are what they become white elephant projects. You don't see value for money. Right. And this represents huge losses to the economy and the society. But if we put it in proper perspective, it will serve the interests of the people, and people will now even have greater confidence. Again, quickly, government should be more open. Accountability is a key factor, transparency is a key factor. Over the years, our governments have not been really open. They should open up the space, let people begin to really know what you are doing. Even from the process of bidding for contracts, award of contracts, those things should be made open. If they are open, there'll be less suspicion. Things that are done in the dark, you are not coming to tell us later after it has gone in the dark. That sometimes we begin to ask, why are you telling us now? Or why did you tell us at the beginning? So people should be carried along.
Okay,
and that will help the economy.
This is a beautiful point at which we're going to leave this conversation this morning. I want to say a big thank you to all of our viewers. But remember that probe is not new, particularly in Edo State. When Governor Adams Aliyu Oshiomhole came into power in 2008, he also ordered a probe. It was very broad in its approach back in the day, but up until today, I'm very sure a good number of Edo people who followed that exercise are still wondering what became of the reports from that probe. We understand that the key persons who were in that on that panel back in the day are still very much alive, and reports
The
were
chairman, of course, Hussein Committee.
going forward, the point is this will be of more importance to Edo people if it serves their interest ultimately, and if it has to do with setting the record straight without any political factor being wired into it. I want to thank very specially Ayamehu Edokpolo for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
And then Felix Osareme as well. We thank you for your time with us.
Thank you very much.
And that's what we're leaving it on TMI today. Many thanks for watching. I'm Agmofuegwe. Stay with Independent Television.